It's a Duke of a Dodge that just might be the most famous TV car ever to race and roar across the screen and into replica shops across the country.
You know, I was like really inspired as a young child by the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, I thought I was Bo Duke till I was about 13 years old.
No need to hazard a guess, it's the General Lee. And now, one extreme guitar star is building his own variation of that muscle car into an extreme version of that legendary Charger.
A 1969 Charger that is soon to be the most extreme General Lee ever built.
It's rock sensation Kenny Wayne Shepherd and the 69 Mopar, soon to be known to the car world as Extreme Lee. Both rocking our way here on Rides. Hot rods and rock and roll. To most people, that's not even salt and pepper. They're the identical spice that travel in the same container. Today, a whole generation of musicians and gearheads don't know any other combo. This perfect mix that can result in the melding of two forms of heavy metal. And few artists can vouch for that like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, a star guitarist and car fanatic rockin' and rolled into one talented hitmaker. A guitar prodigy from a very early age, Kenny hears the world through music, but sees it zoom by in some very cool cars.
Well, ever since I was a little kid, I used to, I went everywhere with Matchbox cars in my pocket, you know? So as I got older and I started being self-sufficient and got to the point where I could afford to buy my own stuff. This one seems to get a lot of really special attention. Just recently, about, 2 or 3 years ago, got into car collecting. And since then, I've gotten about 9 cars so far. The first car I ever had, which I bought myself with my signing advance from the record company. I was 16 years old, and I bought it was a 1991 Chevy S10 Blazer. It was a 4-door.
Let's just say that ride provided many learning experiences for a young Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
I got all of my accidents in that car. Actually, I think it spent more time in the body shop than I got to spend driving it. And by the time I traded it in, there was not one original panel left on the car. They even replaced the roof of the car.
Clearly, he's come a long way, and now he's about to add yet another car to his collection. It'll be a variation on a ride that cast a spell over the guitarist back when he was a kid growing up in Louisiana. Actually, it's a car that had a whole nation of young fans 25 years ago.
Well, I grew up as a kid, I was watching the Dukes of Hazzard, and I always thought that I was Bo Duke. You know, I had the blonde hair and everything. And my mom used to really get mad at me. I'd climb in the windows of her car, you know, and try and slide across the hood of the car. And so, I don't know, I guess it's just kind of like fulfilling a childhood fantasy to be able to drive one, you know, because that was like my favorite show on television at that time.
It was a favorite show for millions of TV viewers, later spawning fan clubs, websites, and even a feature film version now coming decades after its television debut. Fans today still remember the characters from the show, particularly the four-wheeled star that went by the name of General Lee, a 1969 Dodge Charger with a roll cage and its doors welded shut, just in case you wanted to take a tumble. And now, Kenny Wayne Shepherd is getting a General Lee of his very own.
You know, I was putting the word out that I was looking for a General Lee in pristine condition or possibly one of the original show cars. But I wanted to be able to drive the car as well. You know, I didn't want it to just be something that I'd park at the house and look at in the garage. And so I had a couple of leads on some things, and then this guy, Robert Wolf from Mopar Collector's Guide, called my office and spoke with my dad, and then we did a conference call, and Robert said, "Hey man, I know these guys that I can put you in touch with at Redline Gauge Works."
Fulfilling Kenny's wishes, brothers Sean and Shannon Hudson are planning a frame-up rebuild at their shop, Redline Gauge Works.
Well, we got a call from Rob Wolf, the editor and owner of Mopar Collector's Guide magazine. They're based out of Louisiana, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd grew up in Louisiana, so they kind of met, and Kenny Wayne expressed to Rob that he wanted a General Lee, a real one, one from the show or something like that.
One day, the reality hit me that hey, I could have one of these cars if I just go and buy a 69 Charger and make it happen, you know?
Shannon's the man for this build with a connection to the TV series.
My father-in-law, Renaud Valuze, is the person with his uncle, Andre Valuze, who actually built 230-some General Lees for the show for about 4 years. So that's another reason why we got the phone call.
Yep, it's just as Shannon says. Hundreds of General Lees were built, wrecked, and rebuilt for the television series. And Renaud and Andre Valuze took care of the rebuilding. Back in the 1980s, the car crew for the show had it all down to a crude but highly effective science.
We built them in a shop down the street here in Newhall. And when it rained, we put buckets in the ceiling so the cars wouldn't get wet when we was painting them. And it was just an old shop, looked like Cooters. And so we'd go in, come out of General Lee. And we'd sometimes have to do some of these things in 7-8 hours, cars. Turn them around from a factory car to General Lee. That's my brother Andre, right there. And then that's myself, Renaud. This is over at our shop, about 1980, I believe. I think 50 of these General Lees right here. And then this is the Sheriff Little car right here, and this one right here. And the rest of these were all the Sheriff Roscoe cars. We had 300 of those.
For Kenny's project, finding a decent 69 Charger was the first step. Stripped down to metal, this one had more than a few flaws.
We actually went to eBay right away, and I found a car within about 2 days after talking to Kenny. We were the high bidder on it. My brother-in-law came down from Texas. He does pick up and delivery. That's what he does for a living. So he drove out to Idaho and brought it back in like 2 days.
He has a transporter?
Transporter.
Why didn't you ever tell me that? I'm shipping cars everywhere.
Well, I don't know.
The communication is poor.
That's your fault.
So then how
You were supposed to ask me if I knew somebody that did transportation.
Anybody?
I do, yeah. It's my brother-in-law. His name's Kenny.
Ted Mosier saw that the incoming car needed some work when it first came to his shop. He also didn't like the color of the arriving ride.
Well, the car was an ugly yellow, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
it was yellow
with green interior.
With yellow with green interior.
The combination was something I certainly wouldn't have bought. We couldn't really tell what we had. It had a vinyl top on it, didn't it?
Vinyl top, yeah.
Yeah, so we pulled it off. The rest wasn't too bad on the top, but when we got into the media blasting down here, there's a bunch of rust around here. The quarter on the other side has been replaced, and it wasn't replaced very well, so we're gonna have to go over that. So basically, we decided just to strip the car completely down and start over.
And part of starting over is all about the right applications in the most troubled of areas. It's going to take some Bondo and a whole lot of shaping to get the doors smooth. And on another part of the car, the only answer to the problem is a patch panel, a new piece that's going to replace some of the rot on this Charger.
Basically what we're going to do, we're going to cut the quarter off. This quarter panel has been patched so many times with rust spots, so we're just going to cut it off and put a new quarter on.
Some of this damage came as a shock to the crew. When the Charger arrived, it wasn't as nice as it looked on eBay.
So Ted said, let's media blast it. So that uncovered all the sins of the car, throughout its life in Idaho. A lot of rust replacement, a lot of cheesy bodywork.
So this old Charger will shed some skin as it begins its transformation into a General Lee. And once it becomes that four-wheeled rebel, there's no doubt that Kenny will live out one of his favorite childhood memories by jumping into the car through the open driver's window. Or maybe not.
I don't know, man. If you try and climb in and out of these windows, you'll get a whole new appreciation for what those guys did on that show. Because I've tried it before when we first got this car, before all the work began on it. And it's pretty tough to climb in and out of these windows. I mean, there's not a lot of room between here and here. I'm not going to slide across the hood, though. It's not for me. I don't want to scratch the paint.
And that paint he's not going to scratch is going to go a bit beyond your average General Lee, because Kenny's totally rebuilt Dodge is going to be a General Lee that's more than just General. What else could you expect for a guy who knows that a hot rod has to rock and roll?
I mean, I think that's probably going to be definitely one of the baddest Chargers that's been restored and built.
Pretty much it.
The Dukes of Hazzard had a tremendous run on television from 1979 to 1985, spawning a devoted fan base that loved the action and the cast of comedic characters. The daring Duke brothers stayed one step ahead of the law in their trusty '69 Dodge Charger, the General Lee. And now, one very talented young guitar player is building a General Lee of his very own. At the ripe old age of 13, Kenny Wayne Shepherd discovered that he was one exceptional guitarist, a prodigy who was already able to run with the best of them. And all that led to a career that is now allowing this artist to build a recreation of a high horsepower memory from his childhood, the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. It's a ride he's dreamed of since his first viewing of the TV show.
You know, I was like really inspired as a young child by the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, I thought I was Bo Duke till I was about 13 years old. And I used to climb in the windows of my mom's car, you know, and she'd yell at me all the time. And I used to sit behind the steering wheel and play Dukes of Hazzard and stuff.
The Lee being made for Kenny is currently a stripped-down bare 1969 Dodge Charger. Of course, it's the same year of that model used in the television series. Today, the business at hand is all about removing the old motor and transmission from a special piece that's needed for this build. Unique to those Mopar rides from Dodge, Plymouth, and Chrysler, this multifunctional base known as the K-Member will eventually have a permanent home in Kenny's General Lee.
We're gonna pull the motor off, put it aside, take the K-Member up with all the suspension, brakes, steering, all that. Take it upstairs, get it steam cleaned, get it prepped. It'll come back down. We'll replace, put drop spindles, replace all the steering linkage, all that kind of stuff. And then get it all painted up, ready to go before we bolt the new motor, new tranny, and then stick it in the car.
It's one of the few pieces from the stock Charger that will actually find its way onto a car that will be basically new once it's completed.
This is kind of a nice one. We only have to build one of them, and so we don't have to build 4 or 5 of the exact same vehicle. But we'll get it done. Hopefully we can get it done in time for the guy. We're getting ready to move the shop, so right now everything's been kind of chaotic and a lot of parts that we need aren't here and stuff like that, so.
Luckily, unlike the old TV show schedule, a whole fleet of General Lees aren't in the works.
Okay, go up.
This old engine and the tranny will probably find their way to the junkyard, but the K-Member will be totally cleaned up and rebuilt before it goes onto Kenny's car. From the old to the new, it's now time for some off-the-shelf goodies for this evolving General Lee.
Got some toys.
You're killing me, dude. November 1st, you're killing me.
Come on, you can do it. Don't you like all this pressure?
I have to do it. Oh, yeah.
General Lee wouldn't be complete without the Dixie horns. This is what makes it a General Lee. New torsion bars. And the bad boy, the Be Cool radiator.
Like a kid in a candy store. Woo. Oh, that's sweet.
Airbrush artist Patrick Seo takes an early look to get ideas for some new style graphics.
We definitely want to go with something a little bit different than the typical General Lee. We've decided to italicize the 01, kind of like a NASCAR number, like a stock car number. But now we're thinking we need to change it up even more, do something three-dimensional, kind of faded in.
Yeah, it'd blend into it. If you added a little bit of the body color into any color you use, if you want it to be ghosty, and that would, you'd barely see it, you'd have to go,
yeah,
wow.
That's what I'm thinking would look
yeah,
cool.
I see that little outline.
And you can have it done tomorrow, right?
Yeah, by noon.
Well, now we've got the new panels from year one. We're fixing to put it, got the old one off, we're gonna put the new one on.
Rust and bad rebuilding took its toll on this portion of the old ride, so there was no other answer than to order up an out-of-the-box panel, a piece that you don't exactly just bolt onto the car. And soon, Kenny Wayne himself stops by to have a look.
Well, I'm here today just to kind of, you know, check it out and see the progress that these guys have made, and to get an update on what's going on with the car.
And the update, well, it's all moving right along.
And they've done a lot of work in a short amount of time, man.
Yep. What do you think about doing something like that on the door there? You know, nice and big, italicized, three-dimensional.
That's beautiful.
You like it?
That's amazing.
So already it's clear to Kenny that the guys have more in mind than just a replica of the old TV car.
Is there anything that, because of how big the wheels are going to be, are they going to have to
Actually, they're not going to have to do any kind of spring relocation or any kind of tubbing of the rear end at all. These Chargers, they have so much room already. And we're going 19-inch in the rear and 18s up front.
These cars are notorious for the eyepiece, the center eyepiece in the front of the car. You almost can't find a Charger nowadays with the original eyepiece that doesn't have a dent in it.
Right.
Now, did this one have a dent in it?
Yeah, it has a little bit of dent, but it can all be repaired. All that aluminum can be repaired, and there's aftermarket parts for all the plastic panels that go down inside of the grille and stuff like that.
And this is that eyepiece Kenny knows so much about. Just one of the parts that used to get a quick fix back when the builders of the TV cars had to stay on schedule.
Around here in front, we would take the grills of the 69 when the cars got wrecked, and we'd just take and hacksaw that piece out, baling wire it in there so it wouldn't fall off, and then change the taillights in the back. And then there was a little round turn signal thing on the sides. We'd Mylar that over and paint the car orange. Put the decals on and let her go.
Kenny has some requests for the inside of the ride.
Since we're doing a lot of modern things to the interior, because I have another one of these 69 Chargers.
Sure.
And there's no cup holders. So I was wondering, maybe we should talk to the interior guys
Absolutely.
and whoever's doing the console.
Yes.
And try and put some cup holders in there, because we're going to have some really nice interior going in this car.
Yep.
You don't want to spill any drinks.
Okay.
But this is a car, you know, it's going to be an amazing show car. But I'm the kind of guy that, like, the car has to
We're
be
making
driven.
sure that it has both of those things.
Well, that's the thing, man. I play guitar, and, you know, a lot of people put guitars up on the wall and just look at them. But they're meant to be played.
That's right.
You know, same thing with these cars.
That's right.
Soon the team wants to know about Kenny's other cars.
What do you normally drive?
I got a Mercedes SL 500.
Boo.
Yeah. But, you know.
It's a good car.
Yeah, it's a good car, but, I mean, you know, it's kind of like when you got a car like this at your disposal, you know, or like my other hot rod, man. It's like, you know, when I'm in Louisiana, the only thing I drive is 69 Charger.
Kenny knows that a cool ride is about a few key elements.
Yeah, the car definitely represents, I mean, it's got a lot of attitude, and this car just, I mean, if you see the mock-up drawing, the artist rendering of the car, you can tell that the car is nothing but attitude, just with its stance and everything. It's a lot of attention. It's a muscle car. Muscle cars are about power, you know what I mean? And riding down the road, it's like they get a lot of respect. So what is our deadline?
The gear vendors who supplied your overdrive unit wants to have it in their booth at SEMA, so that's our goal.
Incredibly, this ride is going to have to be ready for SEMA, that convention of aftermarket car parts and accessories. The deadline is just 6 weeks away.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing come together. You know, it's really exciting. I mean, I've been a Dukes fan my whole life.
Well, the cars on that show never had what is rolling up now for Kenny.
Let's see what kind of goodies we got here.
Yeah, kind of excited to see this. Oh, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow, that is nice.
It's a mega machine for a Mopar, a personalized powerhouse with some surprises.
Well, why don't we engrave the initials KWS in there? He got an engraver to do it, and it really came out great. This thing made 565 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 614 foot-pounds of torque at 4,500 RPM.
Wow.
So you have to be easy.
Yeah, easy on the gas, huh? Absolutely,
Man, let's get it out and let's put it in.
Yeah.
Right on.
Right on and right in as the motor and the engine compartment come together for a fit. Guitarist extraordinaire Kenny Wayne Shepherd is one true and determined gearhead, and he now has a new engine for his evolving General Lee, the rebel of a ride from that TV classic, The Dukes of Hazzard. But Kenny's 69 Charger is going to have a little more power than those cars used in the television show.
586 horsepower and over 600 foot-pounds of torque, and it was right at 600 from about 3,000 RPM all the way up.
Wow.
So it's going to be, as I say, it's going to be a tire shredder. There has to be one more stage of final tuning. The initial tuning we did on the dyno, of course, was pretty much idle and full throttle. And then there's the second stage of tuning, which is done in the car. And where you drive it around, you get the transitions dialed in and all that. It takes about an hour. It's not hard to do. And then go hop a bridge.
Oh yeah, that stunt staple from the Dukes of Hazzard. Really big jumps.
I'm not gonna jump this car, man. That'd be destroying another Charger, you know? I mean, I'm all about, you know, what the Dukes of Hazzard did for the popularity of the '69 Charger, because they really did make the car, bring a lot of attention to the car. People became fans of Mopars that may not have been necessarily otherwise.
Biggest, longest jump I think this thing ever accomplished. Jumped over the Santa Clara River for the, might be the title shots of some of the shows. And it was unbelievable. It was like this car didn't stop, it just kept on going. It was unbelievable. And then still almost drove away.
I'm not gonna, you know, destroy this car in any way. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna drive it hard, but I'm not gonna jump any creeks or anything like that. Just screaming yeehaw, you know.
Well, he could if he wanted to, especially with this transmission.
Oh man, look at that. Wow.
The car's now going to be a 6-speed automatic instead of a 3-speed automatic.
Yeah.
Let's bolt it on. Where's Bama?
Soon it's a gear shift from transmission to an all-new suspension. The pre-assembly on the K-Member shows us that Mopar guys have their own challenges to deal with.
I want to get the spindles put on and everything before we stick this in the car. Briefing on the K-Member, basically it supports the engine, the suspension, brakes, everything bolts right onto this. Right now I need to get new tie rod ends put on. As soon as the spindles come down from paint, we'll get those put on, get the disc brakes put on, get the motor mounts ready.
And ready is going to have to show itself more and more, because this ride has to be ready for SEMA in just 5.5 weeks. Things seem to be running smoothly until they reach the final drive unit assembly.
Everything's in, it's working. But what happens when you shift this thing into park, it's supposed to pop that out like that and lock it into park.
Yeah.
But then when it goes back down, there's no spring there now, because now that it's moved, the spring flips all the way in.
Well, it kind of looks like this.
That ain't gonna work. Got it?
Yeah.
Soon the problem is solved when the parking pin is aligned correctly and the overdrive can be joined with the transmission.
I just wanted to make sure that popped into place. That's very important that pops into place.
With every part comes the need for more and more time, but it won't be long before all of the time will have slipped away for good.
More. A little bit more.
Every now and then, it's clear that a lot of this gear needs some very special moving requirements. Some of these pieces need more than just a good strong back for lifting.
I need that pallet forward. I can't let go.
The front end you want forward.
Probably the whole thing right now.
Already it looks like trouble, and it only takes a bolt here and a bracket there before the team realizes the obvious. Getting this powertrain with all of its additional gear to sit properly on a rebuilt K-Member is going to be tricky.
This ain't gonna happen, dude. These oil lines are not cool with this whole idea. I mean, once we start dropping, that line is done.
Yeah.
The new rear end stays right where it is as the body is lowered down into the workplace. The care going into the assembly of this TV-based ride is a far cry from 25 years ago, when car builders on the series had little time to turn Dodge Chargers into General Lees.
We went through these cars sometimes like 4 or 5 a day. The beginning, because they had to jump these cars every which way you could jump and make it exciting, and it was just taking the cars out. And they were readily available. We found them all over the place. And, the average car was usually about, to buy, it wasn't very much. And so, not like today. And so we could just paint one up and tune it up and fix it and make it look like this, and then take it out and all the stunt guys would just jump in them and see which one ran the best and burn the tires off by 10 o'clock in the morning.
This version of the General Lee will have hundreds of hours put into it, and it's now time for that new motor and transmission to bolt up into the body.
With Mopars, you usually will actually lift the motor up into the body from the bottom up. You don't drop them in from the top like other cars. It's just a lot easier. You can actually bolt the whole front suspension, the motor, the transmission, and everything all to the K-frame, because the K-frame is separate from the body. And you just bolt it up from the bottom. There's 4 bolts that holds it in, and you're done. Put the tranny mount in, the engine's in.
You go down a little bit, Bama? Okay, what's hitting right now? We're hitting something somewhere. It's not.
There you go. There you go.
And the next plan, just keep on keeping on, one part at a time.
We're going to start hooking everything up and getting all the electrical sorted out. With this fuel injection, we're going to have to run an actual computer inside the car. So there's going to be some fresh wiring that's going to have to be done for that.
So now, with only a month before SEMA, are these guys worried?
You know, I'm not, but Ted is, so I trust him. If there's anybody that can get it done in this short amount of time, it's him. You know, he's got a crew of guys here that are pretty much the best at what they do, especially when it comes time to, for time crunches. So we don't want a static display there. We want to be able to drive this thing in there.
At Ted Mosier's shop, Kenny Wayne Shepherd's ride is now ready for some graphics, so airbrush artist Patrick Seo is going to apply his custom stencils. And with less than 3 weeks to go before the car's debut at SEMA, it looks like the name is going from General to Extreme.
Yeah, what I'm doing now is putting on this computer stencil. It says Extreme Lee, and it's going to be the guide, the template for the lettering. And it's a vinyl cut stencil. It's sticky, so right now I'm just going to apply it. Yeah, Shannon came in and asked that I remove this E in Extreme, so it's just spelled X-T-R-E-M-E instead of E-X-T-R-E-M-E. So now, since I already laid this down, I'm going to remove this E.
Well, Patrick will need to take an early lunch break because the guys who know their exhaust are here to fit some pipes.
Hey guys,
how you guys doing? We've got the exhaust system for the car to install. There she is. Good healthy muffler, huh?
Big guns.
Big guns for a big car, a ride that will still want attitude in spite of mufflers.
It's a 1 7/8 inch tube header, big 3-inch collector on it.
And they don't just work to rid the ride of exhaust, they also make the car go faster.
Long tube header. It's better scavenging effect on the horsepower in the motor. You get more horsepower out of the car with a longer header. So.
For any custom car, there's no such thing as an out-of-the-box, ready-to-roll exhaust.
This fitting's going to be an issue, Dan. But I just think for the starter, it's going to be a pain. Let's see. Just get this up in there. Got that one started. Get one bolt started. Get that hung up there. Yeah.
As you can see, everything's pretty tight on these cars as it is.
It's tight, and it all keeps getting tighter, with more and more pipes joining the party. But soon there's enough on, and it's time for the team to get an overhead view of the project.
All right, so it's up. We can go and lower the car and finish tightening all the bolts down.
So the car comes down, and the crew can see where they are and where they gotta go.
It's nice the plug wires are going to drape underneath and come up from the bottom, too. They're not going to be, there's no distributor.
Make it nice and clean.
It's going to have coil packs. Yeah, you won't really see the plug wires.
By the time the exhaust is done, it'll all be high-tech. But as they measure out their work at this stage, some methods are strictly old school. As it is with any custom exhaust system, they all take shaping and cutting. And when it comes to cutting, that eyewear isn't just fashion, unless you consider it fashionable to retain your sight.
Okay, I've had metal in my eye. I don't need it again.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
I have to.
No, I've had no eye.
It's no fun when they take a little drill to your eye to get the
little piece
and then make you wear a little pirate patch for the ride home.
No thanks.
The pipework is soon snaking around to that place where it looks as though the team is ready for the dual muffler system. That double-headed set that has to look good, even though most people will never see it.
Okay. Yeah, we can't have one hanging a little bit lower than the other. You know?
No.
You don't like that look?
Where the muffler's good, they put the gaskets in it.
So soon, the exhaust team is exhausted, and after his nice long lunch, Patrick is back to have another shot with his graphics.
The top I'm going to cut by hand. That'll be a freehand stencil.
Patrick's goal with his airbrushed graphics is realism. Through layers of light and shadows, he'll achieve a three-dimensional quality.
This whole flag has a white border around it, and these letters are white, have a white border, and these numbers have a white border around it. And that's what I'm getting ready to do, is just make a template, a stencil to spray the white on everything.
Most of his ideas come from the graphics on the TV series.
This is sort of an idea of what I'm doing on the top. It's a Confederate flag, and I just put some vinyl over some material to get the folds and the creases. And that's how I'm going to spray it to look like it's real material.
Today, of course, an actual Confederate flag can be a true source of controversy. But for those putting together this General Lee, there's the want to recreate what the TV car was back in 1979.
The Rebel flag is on the car because it's a General Lee, and that's kind of, that's what they were. I mean, it's, the car's name came from General Robert E. Lee from the Confederate, Army. I am from the South. I don't ride around, with like Confederate flags on all my cars or anything like that. It's a General Lee, it's like a part of television history.
Television history that came a few short years after TV had broken barriers, yet back in a time when it seemed like the Rebel flag was still an acceptable symbol in the South.
I mean, if you took the flag off the car, it would be missing something. There'd be a serious void there, And so I don't want the car to be misrepresented. It is what it is.
And what this flag is going to be is torn and tattered, a design that takes a lot of careful cutting with the X-Acto knife.
So you got to take a little time to cut these to look like they're actually tears and holes in the flag.
Once the lines are cut, it's time to remove the pattern in the masking, allowing the surface to remain covered in the places where Patrick doesn't want new paint. Next up, those racing numbers on the doors, set at that NASCAR angle.
I'm going to spray everything white right now, and that's going to be this white border on here going around the letters, or around the numbers. It looks like it just was going so fast that it started tearing apart a little bit. That's why they're leaned over, the numbers are tilted over about 15 degrees.
Between the entire rooftop and both doors, there's a lot more graphics on this car than meets the eye. And while he's staying true to the three main items that were on the TV cars, the door numbers, the flag, and the name title, there's no doubt that Patrick is going for something both more subtle and more complex in design. A set of graphics that show the General Lee as combination icon and blast from the past. No matter how this ride is seen, one thing is certain. This Lee is getting the kind of care that the TV show car builders never had time for.
We had to trick paint these cars because sometimes in the winter months they had to drive really fast, and so we could get the decals and things on them. And so a friend of ours that ran the Warner Brothers garage, Al Murray, he told us about, we took a hot plate and put the bucket of paint on it and just kind of like warmed that paint up. And so when we shot these things, it just flowed out. It was more smoother and looked shinier too, and it dried better.
Pretty soon, more stencils are coming off, giving clues as to just what is going to have new color and what is going to remain that Hazard County orange. After the door numbers are hit, it's yet another session of peeling away to see what's what.
That's it. Start pulling stuff off.
By now, all of Patrick's base colors are on the car, and it will soon be time for the fun part, when he can take his airbrush and create some light and shadow.
The bottoms of everything should be darker this line's on the bottom, this line. It'll make everything look like there's a light source coming from above.
And with the graphics on their way, Kenny is starting to feel that his ride isn't the far-off dream that it once was.
I feel really content, man, when this car's done. It's been a lot of like stress and like worrying and wondering if it's gonna be right, you know, and I'll just be kind of really happy when it's all said and done and you get to see the final project.
It's guitar prodigy turned rock sensation Kenny Wayne Shepherd, an expert on both music and cool cars. And with less than a week to go before its debut at the SEMA show, his newest ride is almost ready for a test spin. It's an original twist on that classic TV Mopar known as the General Lee, a car that he'll add to his already radical collection of hot rods and custom cars. But Kenny's General Lee will be a bit more extreme than any other replica of the car. The finished ride is going to be something personal for Kenny. And personal is the way that Shepherd approaches all things creative.
Well, all my music pretty much is from my own personal experience in life. You know, I don't try and write over people's heads. I try and write it in plain English, you know, so that they understand what it's about and they can relate to it, you know.
With the tangled exhaust now untangled and the graphics almost completed, the car has to get ready for that supermarket of the aftermarket, the SEMA show in Las Vegas.
1969 Charger that is soon to be the most extreme General Lee ever built.
And that's pretty extreme, because to this day, the General Lee is perhaps the most famous TV ride based on a factory model. It's a car that has been remade time and time again, one restored Dodge Charger after the other. And with only a few days remaining before SEMA, Kenny's Extreme Lee has moved to the shop of a custom car and interior whiz. And it's getting here without a single moment to spare. With the clock ticking and the days sliding away, the time for the installation of the interior is now.
I'm Jerry Noon. This is custom auto trim. The majority of my work is custom interiors. This is the first time we've done a General Lee car.
Jerry's a California guy, growing up not far from where the original Dukes of Hazzard was filmed.
Yeah, we watched Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. I used to race motocross at Indian Dunes where they used to film them jumping over the river and stuff. So, you know, I remember seeing the cars out there when I was a kid. You know, they'd be out there periodically and stuff. So you see them all lined up and most of them were thrashed.
Some of them probably looked a little like the Extreme Lee looks today, a car that has to get its act together before it makes its way east to Vegas.
The car's got to ship on Sunday. We got first day to have the car, so we're really behind on putting an interior in, and they need the car back tomorrow, so we're gonna have to try to get as much in by tomorrow as we can. It's gonna be working a lot of hours next 3 or 4 days.
And when these guys do an interior, they do all of the interior, even installing that fifth car wheel that happens to make the ride turn.
Yeah, that's what they show on TV. I'll do all the work and it'll show him holding it going.
Part of the extreme aspect of this Extreme Lee is a combination of factory stock meeting modern day cool.
We got the factory dash pieces here. And this is the factory opening for the radio. It's factory. And we're gonna put this one in the opening. So as you can see, the hole's a little bigger. This is a touchscreen nav, when this is just probably an FM.
Jerry's got years of experience when it comes to one of the more difficult interior pieces.
A lot of guys struggle with headliners. Their technique, you know, you got to stretch forward, backward, sideways, all at the right time to the right place. If you don't do that, you're going to have wrinkles. If you don't cut and snip in the right places, they don't pull down tight. I did limousines that had about a 12-foot headliner in them with like 12 bows for 4 years solid. So, I mean, I've done so many headliners. These things are a walk in the park.
True craftsmanship means no mistakes.
We don't do too many big screw-ups. Just sometimes we have to peel stuff off if we forgot a step or something like that. But you can pretty much redo everything without any problems. I've seen JJ spill glue all over a panel once.
There's still more to do than just the interior.
If you come out, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch in from here, then there's plenty of room to put a battery in here.
Almost all of the interior installation involves pieces and parts that are created as they're about to go in. with very little that arrives as a stock item, an out-of-the-box appliance, or a gadget made for any other car than this Extreme Lee, now coming together in Jerry Noon's shop.
The Extreme Lee is going to be extreme on us, so that's probably why it's called Extreme, because of the stress level.
And Jerry's not kidding, with more wires, fabrications, and installations than time will truly allow. There's no doubt that the interior team often gets the short end of the time stick, trying to create the part of the ride that some consider the most important aspect of a show car.
Let's see, reversing the angle, see how it made this side straight, and that one now the bullet's on the inside.
Soon, Jerry's headliner is worthy of a headline in the newspaper, and a few feet away, the car is going to get its engine computer.
So what this is the Electromotive Tech 3R. This is the complete engine management unit for the motor. It controls the ignition timing and the injector timing.
All right. Much better.
Jerry does his own stitch work, piecing together interiors in a way that others see as flawless.
The sewing part I taught myself, but I've also worked at some really good shops and learned stuff from other people too. You know, as I progressed, you know, you start picking up a lot of tricks from a lot of guys out there who did nice work, so.
The work at Jerry's shop went all night and early next morning. The Lee is moved back to Redline Gauge Works for a final shakedown. And shakedown might be a bit incorrect, with the term usually applied to rides that don't have so many loose ends still hanging this late in the game.
At 8 o'clock this morning, we picked up the car from Jerry Noon's upholstery shop. So now I've made a little short list of things that need to be done. It's not very short, though, it's actually pretty long. And then we got 3 days until the car leaves for SEMA. So power antenna, it's got an original Radio Shack Dukes of Hazzard antenna, a CB antenna from 1980. Kenny bought a CB off of eBay, an original old Tandy Radio Shack CB, which is what they used to use in the show. Brakes need to be, all the lines need to be ran and the brakes need to be bled. The bumpers are gonna get installed today. Shift linkage, starter solenoid, the engine harness, install all the fuel lines, valve cover breathers, hook up the throttle cable. That's my short list. I'm sure we'll find other things as we go along.
Here to help today is Mopar expert Julius Stewart.
And when a car gets taken apart and you're not the person who takes it apart and we have to put it back together, it's kind of like you look at certain nuts and bolts and you go, I wonder where that went. Well, Julius knows where all those go.
This is all I do. I know where every part goes, where every bolt goes, and that's why I'm here.
So now the team shifts into overdrive, knowing there's an extreme time shortage.
CD, cassette, DVD, navigation. It's an all-in-one unit.
And Kenny's soon here to check out the progress.
This is Julius Stewart. Hey. He's the Mopar man.
It's soon time to head into Redline's workshop to see the custom gear. When he's driving, Kenny will be looking at an updated version of a 1969 Dodge Charger instrument panel, adding a tachometer and a combo of analog and digital readouts not found on the original. And Wheel King Alan Budnick rolls in with some very cool rolling stock.
I know a lot of people that are going to be jealous.
Yeah. I hope I don't get a speeding ticket because this thing's really gonna haul some ass, but I'm really just gonna be anxious just to get it out on the road, open it up, see what it can do, see what it sounds like, you know, see what the people think about it, what the reaction is.
The reaction? Well, we'll have to get back to Vegas to check that out. It's the day to ship the Extreme Lee to Las Vegas for its unveiling at the SEMA show, but a big problem has been discovered at the 11th hour.
Well, what it looks like is very possible that this thing might have a bent axle, so what we're gonna do is inspect that and see what's going on. We still haven't put the CB radio in. He wants the CB in it. We haven't put the roll bar in. We got the roll bar yesterday. So there's a bunch of little things. Where's that plate? We got to put that plate on first.
Already. See where this stud is? It's kind of going up.
So the axle's probably okay. It's that backing plate. It's going to be
plate that's
going to be changed.
So the Charger still needs work, but Kenny's on his way. A car guy through and through, he drives one of his collectible customs to Redline for a final look at the Lee before Vegas. His present ride, a 1950 Ford Business Coupe with a 396 Chevy motor. Well, it looks like the axle was fixable. Meanwhile, being good car guys ourselves, we want to hear about Kenny's finished ride.
Yeah, it's 6 inches that's been taken off the top. I think they channeled it too, so it's chopped and channeled, you know. They do the bottom, make it a little more low profile. A lot of old school guys who grew up in the 50s, man, you'd be amazed at all these guys that come up to me and just tell me these stories about their childhood, man, you know, when they were teenagers, and how, you know, the ones that had the column shift, you know, they had to, like, some guys would put it on the other side so they could make out with their girlfriend, you know, across the bench seat, and it wouldn't get in the way. And you'd just be amazed at the kind of stuff these kinds of cars bring out in people. See, the back seat is came out of a Cadillac, and I believe the 2 front seats came out of a Camaro. So, these heavy doors. Power steering, power brakes, 4-wheel disc brakes. And I think that engine's putting out about 500 horsepower now. And we got some Flowmaster exhaust on there. Sounds really good. Not too loud, but loud enough, you know, to get the point across.
So as Kenny arrives to see his new Extreme Lee, there's one very extreme surprise waiting for the star under the deck lid.
We got a little surprise in the trunk.
Yeah. Ah, it's done. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that, man. It's nothing like having a guitar to match your car, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good too, huh?
It's the SEMA convention in Las Vegas, a car show devoted wholly to the aftermarket parts world. It's a mix of new and old. And joining an impressive array of classic Mopars, Kenny Wayne Shepherd's Extreme Lee. Parked in the gear vendor's booth, it's drawing quite a crowd. And at SEMA, the car was something that Kenny Wayne Shepherd knows all about. A hit.
It's unbelievable, especially considering that, you know, just a couple of days ago, this car didn't have the interior in it, and the rear spacing on the wheels was wrong, and the rear wheels had to be redone. And, you know, the amount of time and effort that these guys put in to get to this deadline for this SEMA show is unbelievable. I can't believe they pulled it off, but it's amazing. Horsepower, 600 some odd foot-pounds of torque, 618 I think. It's a tire shredder.
Hot rodders and musicians have a lot in common, including inspiration at an early age.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, man. I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan for the first time at a concert, got to meet him, got to watch the whole show from the side of the stage. He picked me up, set me over on the side of the stage, and I was hooked, man, from that point on. 7 years old, I started playing guitar, which is really crazy because I'm 27 now, and I can't believe that I can say that I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. After Stevie Ray Vaughan died, I figured that
I almost gave guitar up at one point, but then I figured, hey man, I'll do my part. Just you know, no matter how small or how big, I'm gonna do my part to just keep this kind of music going. You know, I had every Dukes of Hazzard toy imaginable. So now that I've gotten to a point in my career where I can afford to, you know, have some toys, man, it's like I needed a General Lee, an Extreme Lee. Definitely is one of those songs where you just crank it up and put the pedal to the metal, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's no better feeling, man, than to get out on the open road and roll the windows down, man. And you know, that's a feeling of being alive, you know. Like you just get your blood going, man. The speed and the intensity of the machine, you know. It's great, man. You know what? Playing music is every time I get on the stage, it's like a dream to me, man. It's almost not real. It's the feeling that I get from the fans and the energy that they provide, you know, their excitement and stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. There's no substitute for it. There's nothing that even compares to it.
There it is, hot rods and rock and roll. But actually, we like the way Kenny says it.
That's right, man. Cars and guitars.